Hi, I'm Bill, the Domestic Monk. Welcome back to another video, and thanks very much for watching. So today's just going to be a short video. I just wanted to do a little memorial on the passing of Pope Emeritus Benedict XVI. So unlike St. John Paul II or Mother Teresa, who were canonized very quickly for good reason, I don't think Pope Benedict will be canonized quickly, but I think he will be in probably 100 years' time. You know, he may be perhaps the greatest theologian of the last 100 years or so. He's written so much stuff. One of the things I encourage people to take a look at is his short little address to Regensburg in Germany, which he went back after he became Pope and gave the address at Regensburg. And of course, like many people, he was an interesting guy. They didn't care. The media didn't care for him. There are a lot of people in the church that didn't care for him. The German church didn't care for him. Of course, look what's happening with the German church right now, right? And during that speech, he talked about, he was criticized for allegedly criticizing Islam, right? Which is a big no-no in this world for whatever reason right now. But he really didn't do that. What he was doing, he used a medieval quote about Islam to illustrate a point that faith and reason are both necessary. And he wasn't just criticizing Islam. What he was saying was that faith without reason can become like Islam, where they use any means to convert people to the faith, including, jihad and murder and whatever. But he was also criticizing modernity and the institutions in the universities for emphasizing reason without faith. I mean, for Pope Benedict, faith and reason were so important. I've got a couple of his books here in my own library, The Doctors of the Church and Jesus of Nazareth. But there's so much that this guy has written. You know, of course, he was early on in his career, he was a member of the Second Vatican Council, which a lot of people criticize, at least the implementation of Vatican II. But he went on from there to serve Pope John Paul II as the prefect for the doctrine of the faith for years. And he's the guy who really kept the wheels on the church to make sure that to rein in some of these errors related to Vatican II. You know, initially he was considered one of the liberals on the side of calling for reform within the church. But when he saw how some elements both inside the church and outside the church were trying to implement their own vision, which was outside of the documents of the council, he really took to defending it, and that brought him into friendship with Pope John Paul II, who was also a member of the Second Vatican Council, and Pope Benedict, or Joseph Ratzinger as he was known at the time, really helped rein in some of the excesses of Vatican II. And also, let's not forget about the clergy abuse scandal. Nobody did more to clean up abuses, to rein in abusive priests, including Theodore McCarrick, who he disciplined by removing them from the priesthood rather than sending them off to a monastery somewhere to do silent penance, which is one of the things that was done prior. So, and then lastly, I will say this, you know, he's only the second pope in the history of the church, 2,000 years, to voluntarily resign the papacy. And that's something right there. I mean, you see the end of Pope John Paul II's life and when he had Parkinson's, and what a sad physical condition he was in. It's very difficult to run a church. And of course, that's when a lot of the clerical abuse stuff came to the forefront, and he just wasn't in a position to deal with those things, mentally or physically. This guy walked away from the papacy voluntarily while he was still mentally and physically capable. Now, if you look at him now at 95 years old, maybe not so much, but he was at the time, and that says a lot about him and his character as a person. People very infrequently walk away from power. That's one of the things that makes George Washington, the first president of the United States, such an amazing guy. You know, after the Revolutionary War, he became president, and they wanted to make him king. And they wanted to give him a lifetime, to leave him in the office of the presidency for a lifetime. And he said no, and he walked away and he went back to Mount Vernon. It's the same here with Pope Benedict XVI. He turned, he felt that he was in a position where he could not do the work that was required of him in the office of the Pope, and he voluntarily walked away. And he might have set a new standard, because Pope Francis has acknowledged that he's already signed an order that if he's physically or mentally incapable of continuing, he's going to resign too. So who knows? It might be for the good of the church, but I will say this, having Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger or Pope Benedict XVI in the church at the time we had him really has been good for the church. And so, I pray for his soul. I know that he, from following the news on him, he was ready to go, let's just say, and he was wondering why the Lord hadn't taken him yet. So I think he's getting his just reward, and I do pray for him, and I pray for his soul. Eternal rest grant him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May the souls of the faithful departed through the mercy of God rest in peace. So rest in peace, Pope Benedict XVI, and thanks very much for watching. And as always, Siempre Adelante.